Okay, I think I've got it working. I think I've got it working finally. Boy, oh boy, what a mammoth effort to get this going. If you can hear me and you can see me, let me know if we're working, if we're live. Hopefully we are. Hopefully we are. Hey Tim, how you going? G'day John. Alright, sorry about the delay, gang. Let's see if we can get everything working as it's supposed to. Here we go. I think we got it working. Alright. Good. Can you see me now? Hopefully you can see me as well. Brand new camera. Yes, good stuff. What a morning. I put this new software in and it told me that it automatically took all my settings from the old version into because it was just an upgrade, but it was a major upgrade. And it told me that it had taken all the settings across. But as you can see, I had a lot of trouble getting things started today, but I'm here now. Can hear but no see. Now can see. So can you see me and hear me? Is everything working? That's all I want to know. Is everything working? Are we working? All good now. Okay. Wow. Fantastic. Fantastic. Alrighty. And as you can see, this new software allows me to put this pretty little thing there with my name on it. How cool is that? So, yeah, it was an upgrade that they had. And I tested it the other day and it worked. I did a little test and I had a few people jump on the live thing, but for some reason this morning it just wouldn't work. But anyway, all good now. Pixel Chatter number 23 is up and running. We are live with the brand new camera as well. So you can see I've got this camera angle and I've also got, which one? I've got this camera angle as well. So a little bit of fun. As we go through, but I'm going to use this camera because it's a much better webcam, and so this is the one that I'm going to use predominantly. So it's good to see you here. Good to see you all here. Sorry about that delay this morning, because I do have an awesome show. I mean, the show that I had lined up last week is what I had lined up for this week, and you know, I wanted to make sure we got everything up and running so I could run the show this week. Because we've only got a couple of weeks left, and so that's probably the first thing I want to say. So welcome everybody, and sorry about that delay getting things started. I'll try and whiz through the show this morning a bit quicker, but I can't guarantee anything. But we do have a couple of things I want to let you know about. Next week will be the final Pixel Chatter for the year because I'm going away with the boss on holidays to Fiji. I've decided I'm not going to do any photography because we're just on an island. I've been there several times before, and I'm just going to do a heap of diving. I might take the GoPro and do a GoPro video of diving for those that are interested in diving. I don't know how many people here are divers, but that's what I'll be doing. And the other thing I want to let you know about is we still have, I think, 2 spots left for the Tassie trip in March next year. And I know Brian, if he's on here, I haven't seen him here yet, but Brian has moved from the first week to the second week. So in the second week now of the Tassie trip that I'm doing in March, predominantly is full of people from either the VIP group, which is you can go to patreon.com/on3legs with the number 3. You can go and check that out. So they're either from that group or they're somebody from, you know, within here or somebody that follows the channel. So it's going to be a pretty amazing sort of trip in Cradle Mountain in Tasmania where we'll have a group of On 3 Legs followers coming along where you'll get to meet each other and hang out with me, and we'll take some photos of Cradle Mountain. So I think we've got a couple of spots left. If you're wondering how to book in for that, I think it'll be in the description below this video. I can't guarantee it because, of course, I've had all sorts of trouble getting this show up and running today. So I had to sort of create a whole new stream for anybody else knowing about that. So that's that. The other thing I want to let you know about is I'm going to try and squeeze in another VIP hangout before the month is over, or before I go away. And I've got brand new software, and we were talking about making it so you could all chat to each other in there. And so I'm going to trial that as well, where you know, you can use a microphone as well, and rather than typing, you'll be able to chat So for the VIPs only, there's my Pixel Chatter cup. I'm just going to have some of my coffee, as I always do. I'll tell you what, I need it more than ever this morning after all those technical issues. You know, I'm actually I'm not a technophobe at all. I actually love my technology, and so it's unusual that tech gets the better of me. But this morning, because I tested it all last week, this morning I was challenged by it. So I'm just going to quickly put a post in the VIP group letting everybody know that it is working. For anybody who wants to is in that group and doesn't know that we are now live, but they should have got a little warning. Pixel Chatter is now live. Now, if you're wondering what the VIP group is, that's for very important photographers, as I mentioned before. Go to patreon.com/on3legs with the number 3. Should be in the description below. For as little as a couple of bucks a month, you can join the VIP group, come and hang out with us. I've got a whole bunch of stuff planned for 2018. I've had a busy sort of second half of this year with my business, which has taken me away from photography a little bit. But I'm really working on a fairly cool schedule of things for next year. Especially for the VIPs as well. So we're going to have a bit of fun next year. So if you want to be a part of that group, jump in. We have a private chat group online as well that we're all in and have a bit of fun there. All right, let's get stuck into the show. I'm going to go quickly through the chat box. You can see there's a lot of chat happening there. So Tim, thank you, mate. G'day, John. Gianni, how are you, buddy? Anthony, I hear voices. Hopefully it's mine. Susan, good morning. Tim said no video yet. Hopefully that's been fixed by now. Yay. All good, says Ren. All good, says Tim. Good stuff. Excellent. David said you can see me from Scotland. Well, that's good because it means you've got exceptional eyesight, not just good eyesight. From Scotland. Oh, you don't like the mug? With a wink, I see. Pixel Chatter. The worst part is as I take a sip, who do I have to look at? Myself. I love it. Thanks, Scott. I know Scott quite often tunes into the show. He's just not in the chat box. I really appreciate my mug. Love it. It's just the perfect size too when you're having 2 coffees in the morning. Who else we got here? Richard. G'day. PNS Kingsford. Morning. Overcast weather in Brizzy. Yeah, well, it's supposedly a lot of rain here today. So we've seen the weather change this morning. It's getting worse. All right. What do we got here? Brisbane for Phil. We got there. Lee. G'day, Lee. Oh, Lee's asked me what kind of backpack was that backpack was the light brown one I used on a recent video. That is an f-stop Ajna, A-J-N-A, and it's the best. I get paid nothing to say this, by the way. It is the best photography backpack I've ever had. It is comfortable. It allows me to put all my gear in, and not just photography gear, but other gear as well. It has room for, like a rain jacket or some lunch or some snack, whatever you want in there. And it just seems to be really comfortable. And I can put 13, 14 kilos in that bag and it's comfortable. I previously was using a low pro, I think it was called a Vertex 200 or something, and it wasn't comfortable at all. So, yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. Richard says, any more VIPs coming up? Hey, Richard, yes, the plan is to try and squeeze one in before I go away. I will be hopefully putting that into the VIP group in the next week, just letting you know. That way you can make sure you tune in for that. Who else we got there? John says, snazzy mug, thank you. Hi from Northern Ireland, from Philip. Friday night beer and editing time. Yes, always good of a night time, isn't it? And awesome. Rick's back. G'day, Rick. Good to see you back in here. All right, looks like everybody's here. And I'm just checking the VIP group chat box, because I noticed Brian has posted something in there just to make sure he's got it all right. He said, no, it's not. Well, I was going to say, well, Brian, there's about, how many of us are in here? I don't know. About 30 of us that would disagree. There's about 30 in the live stream. Have a look on YouTube. Let's see if we can get Brian in here as well. All right, fantastic. So let's get the show underway. Yeah, so really, I've upgraded the software since last week. I was using a really cheap version that YouTube sort of give you for $15. And what happened was there was a whole bunch of upgrades and it didn't work anymore. So I had to make the investment in the full Wirecast broadcaster platform, and I took advantage of the Black Friday 30% off sales, but it was still extremely expensive. But I love doing these live streams. I know you love coming along to them. So it's good to have you all here. I'm just going to see if I can get another screen up over here so I can monitor what's going on in my live streaming. Hey, g'day Brian. Brian made it in. All right. Looks like everything is working well. I've got like another screen on YouTube that lets me monitor the live stream health. Because sometimes I feel like I'm talking to myself if I can't see any comments coming up or anything happening. Let me have a look. Let's go back to, let's go back here. Yeah, awesome. There we go. I've got that up and running. Pixel Chat 23. All right, 24 people in here, so it's all working good. All right, and it tells me my stream health is good. So everything is working well. Okay, so let's jump straight into this week's viewer kit. And like I said, I've got all these fancy things I can do now. So things like this, where I can show you. I've got this is a viewer kit sent in by Chance. Chance Sealer from Arizona. I don't know if I haven't seen Chance in the chat box this morning. Sometimes he makes it in, but he sent this kit in, and you can see front and center he uses his leaf filters, or he's got a leaf filter bag there. So he's got some leaf filters, and he's got a Nikon D610 there with a grip, so with a battery grip, looks kind of cool. A Nikon 50mm 1.8 lens. That's what's on his camera in the shot. He's got an 18 to 35mm, so that's his wide angle that he uses. Rocket blower, leaf filters. He says he uses a Filter Dude holder system for his leaf filters. The Filter Dude, I've never heard of those, but that's what he's using. But he said they work just as good as the Lee ones do, and they cost a third as much, and he gets them on eBay, so if anyone's interested. The bag is a Billingham bag, f1.4, and then he's got a few other things that aren't in the photo. So that was sent in by Chance Sealer, who, you know, we've him and his boss Lillian, we have critiqued a few of their shots over time. So thank you, Chance, for sending that in. Really appreciate it. If you do want to send your viewer kit in, then you can do that by emailing me. It should be in the link below. Once again, I'm not sure what is in the link below for this video because of the way I started it. So I'm hoping it's in the link below. If it's not, it's Ben at on3legs. That's the word3.com. And you can email that through to me. Brian says, new camera angle. Yes, it's a new camera angle, a new camera. So we actually have two camera angle nows, which is kind of cool. So we can switch like that and I can be over here. Or we can switch back and I can be over here. So this new software allows me to plug in an external cameras, up to 4 cameras. So that's kind of cool. I was pretty happy with that because it meant that I could use this high quality Logitech webcam that gives you a better picture. Alrighty. John says, I'm about to sell my entire Lee 7.5 filter kit tomorrow. Okay, so anybody who has a Fuji camera or a smaller camera, that would be a good buy that John's got going there, the full kit. You're not using it anymore, eh? Okay, so let's then jump into the critiques. Okay, let's jump into the critiques. So I've got 3 images, and this is what I was going to broadcast last week, which was this jetty theme. As you know, I love my jetty, so I've had 3 jetties sent into me. I think everyone else is getting pretty. John's already got a buy. I just saw it come up. Everyone's getting pretty excited with the jetties now because I've really promoted jetties. And I think everyone else is getting a bit of a jetty fetish with me, which I'm happy about. We can all be jetty fans. So I've got 3 jetties today. So let's see if I can bring up these for you in this way. Here we go. So the first jetty that I've got that I'll be critiquing today is by Lee Quimby. And you can see his beautiful jetty here. So I love a good jetty. And you can see it's a bit of a long exposure. So we'll be jumping into that very shortly in Lightroom. The second one that I've got is by Dan McPhail, and Dan had his first image up on the image critique show last week, and that is a jetty, by the way. Let me just get rid of the words for you so you can see that it is a full jetty there. There we go. So this Dan's shot here, he sent that in. He had his first image critiqued on the show last week and was excited by the fact that we critiqued one of his images, and he sent some more in, which is cool. And I really, I encourage you to keep sending your images in, because that's what makes this show happen, isn't it? And then the third jetty that I've got, it looks like an old concrete one, and this one's by Christian Taylor, that I will be critiquing today. So there's the three images that we got. So thank you to those three people for sending those in. And if you want to get your image onto the Pixel Chatter show, let me just get rid of that. There we go. If you want to get your image onto the Pixel Chatter show, and I've got a title. Just getting used to all of this stuff. That's all right. You know where I'm from. Anyway, if you want to get your image onto the Pixel Chatter show, you can email me at ben@on3legs.com. Not with the number, but with the word, which makes it a bit confusing. I might have to talk to my IT guy to see if I can get that fixed with emails. But if you have any problems, just contact me through the site there, which you can see up there on the screen. Alrighty. Hey, g'day Greg. Greg's jumped in. Hopefully I didn't throw too many of you off with my tech problem this morning and not being able to get things up and running as quickly as I'd like. Alright. Let's now jump across to Lightroom. And we'll start critiquing these images. So, I'll quickly check the chat box. What do we got going on the chat box? So, John says, you critique one of mine a while back. Is it okay to submit more? Absolutely. Absolutely. Just send them in. Send as many as you want in. I love going through and critiquing the images, and I think that's what makes the show the show. So, send them in, and we'll definitely get it on the show and have a look at it. All right, so let's flick over to, as you can see, still getting used to this new console. And let me see if I can get rid of that text there. There we go. All right, fantastic. Okay, so that's the three images we have to critique today. Let's jump straight into the first one here, which is Lee Quimby. And, beautiful image taken on a Nikon D810. Nikon D810. Let's just get a nice view of it here. Look at that. Really nice jetty. As you can see, nice long exposure. If I look at the stats for this shot, 41 seconds. So, nice long exposure. And like I said, he's taken it with his D810 ISO 64. Focal length of 70 millimeters, and he's used his 70 to 200 for this one. Beautiful lens by Nikon, and at f16, so a nice high aperture number. So stopping down has meant that he's got a good focus, a good depth of field all the way through the shot. So let's jump in and just do a bit of critiquing and see if we can have a bit of a look at what we could have done. Hey, good morning, Chance. I see you just jumped in. Sorry, we had some technical issues this morning, but we just had your shot kit up on the screen. You have to go back and watch it. All right, so let's have a look at Lee's image here. So from a technical aspect, I like the fact that he has used the 41-second exposure, the long exposure, and I think it's captured the movement of the clouds really well. I'm not sure about the white balance. Something in there, it's a bit blue for me, so we'll get to that in a second. But technically, all the things, you've shot it at f16, ISO 64. I think, you've made all the right moves there for you to give you the best chance. And if we zoom right in, you'll see that it's really sharp. In fact, let me zoom right in. It's a really sharp image. So it's a good, sharp image all the way. Even up here, it's really sharp, and I'm zooming in now. Past remember I'm looking at a JPEG, but nice and sharp. As I do zoom in, by the way, and this is a good way for you to see things like this. If you have a look, I don't know if you can see that line above the light there, just above that light. I don't know how easy you can see that on YouTube. Can I zoom in on that more? Don't know if I can. See if I can scale in. Let me zoom right in there. There we go. So this new software is going to allow me to do some amazing things. Look at this. All right, so you can see that line just above the light. That line is... now I've got to try and work out how to make it back to 100% without... I need an operator. I need someone to come and operate for me. operate the video side of this now. All right, that line is what's going on there? Is chromatic aberration, is what they call it. Chromatic aberration. And it's something you've got to watch out in your shots, and it happens typically on areas of contrast. And you can clearly see it on the top of the light. There's that chromatic aberration. So you just need to keep an eye out for that stuff when you're taking your shots. And there's a couple of ways you can remove it. I won't go through tutorials on that today, but you need to just watch out for that. The other thing that you can see quite clearly when you zoom into this is the noise that's in the sky, and that's really easy to remove as well. Now, I'll just try something actually. Let's jump into the develop module. Because I'm working with the JPEG, it should still help us a bit. Let's see. It's not removing it. So to remove it is going to take a little bit more effort. And there is a couple of ways. It is removing a little bit of it. I can see it changing slightly. You probably can't see it. But what you can do is you can actually go through and make changes and desaturate that particular color if you want to. So you can select that color and just desaturate it, or there's a few things, but there's a lot of chromatic aberration going on when I zoom in. So just be careful of that and keep an eye on that. So I'll just go back to fitting it in. But otherwise, technically, it's pretty well done, and it makes it easy for you to see if you zoom right in. That was at 8:1 to zoom right in, and depending on how you've shot the image, what sort of light, and also what post processing you've done as to how much of that will come out. And you need it to be a raw file, I believe, for this to work. So when you tick that box, so if you bring a raw file in. And you click the remove chromatic aberration, that should remove it from your image for you. Now, the other thing, as I mentioned before, is the white balance, which would be the first thing that I'd fix up in this image. And I can't stress enough that you will need to get yourself something to calibrate your monitors. I have got something that I use all the time, and I make sure I have it on all the time, and that is the Spider, which looks something like this. Okay, and this thing here measures, let's try to focus, measures the ambient light in the room, and helps you then also, and tells you when there's a problem, but also helps you keep your monitor calibrated so you're seeing the right colors and making sure that you're not working on a monitor that's not showing you true white. And that's typically why people have colors that are either really saturated. So you might see someone's photo and go, wow, that's really saturated, but it might be your monitor, or it might be their monitor, or the white balance might be out. And that could be the other reason. So in this one here, I'd probably just warm this up a little bit. You can see that I'm getting a bit more of a natural look straight away. I can see he's applied a vignette to this. That may not have been intentional. There's a good chance that was his big stopper. That sort of happens, especially when you start shooting like at f/16. So these dark corners could have been because of that. And if you didn't want the vignette, it is pretty easy to fix. You can use profile corrections. So it's unable to locate a matching focus as a JPEG, or you can just go into manual and you can actually increase or reduce the vignetting here. Okay, so good little trick there. So if you've noticed you've got vignetting and you don't want it, and it's because of a filter holder or something, and some filter holders do it, you can always remove it. So I'm finding it a little bit heavy, so I'm just going to pull it back a bit. And I like to vignette top and bottom. So that's something that you could fix. I'm noticing a fair bit of dust spots down here. And Lee, you might want to clean up your... you definitely want to clean up your sensor, and I'll show you why. These are going to be really hard to clean up. I don't know if you can see all of those, how many there is. There's quite a lot there. And they're going to be hard to clean up. If I just do this, let's try this tool of Tommy's tool tip there. So you can see all these spots here. They're actually going to be pretty hard to clean up with the spot removal tool, because there's so many of them. They're everywhere. And it looks like something's actually splattered onto your sensor. And there has been known cases of sensors, oil coming out of something in the camera, I've heard, doing something like this. But there's a lot of spots on this image, a lot. I don't know if you can see all of those, but I would definitely, there's a lot. And when you shoot, and there's a good way to test, by the way, if you want to test your camera for these spots, just shoot it at your highest aperture you can, and shoot to the sky, and you'll be able to see how many spots you've got. You just focus to infinity, shoot to a nice blue sky, f22 or something like that, and you'll see them all. And that way you'll be able to sort that out. So that's something as well, technically, that you should watch out for. Also, the noise that's here, you'll see there's a bit of noise. I would remove that. So I'm looking at that at 2:1. If I go in at 4:1, and these are just little things that are easy to fix. I'm just going to get over to the corner of this image here, and I'll show you a little trick. Just grab the brush. I normally wouldn't do this in Lightroom noise reduction, but I'll show you how you can. So the noise reduction here. Sorry, in the brush, here we go. So you can change the noise here. You can just brush on it, and you'll get a you can brush out all the noise. Typically what I do is I'll do an adjustment layer in Photoshop. I'll reduce the noise on the entire image. I'll then do a selection using different techniques depending on the image. But what I want to do is I want to try and mask out everything that doesn't have detail in it and reduce the noise in Photoshop. In Lightroom, it's not as easy to do, and you can see I've reduced the noise on the entire image, but I've softened everything. Where did I do that? I did that down here, see? So typically that's what you're looking to do, but with a brush. And in Photoshop, you can create another image and then you can brush through the layer. You can't do that yet in Lightroom, but I'm sure it's happening eventually. It's going to happen eventually. So besides that, though, I really like the image. I like the long exposure. I'm not a fan of the cropping, and I'll show you how I would crop it. Once again, the jetty works really nicely. The angle of the jetty is good. Where it finishes up is pretty good. I would prefer to see the hut sort of on an intersection. And so I would probably, when I shot this, I probably would have shot it more like this. And I'll show you, yeah, the sky is more interesting than the sea. So I probably would have shot it more like this. And just to bring the attention into, to where it needs to be. The challenge with doing that is I've lost the colour. There was some colour, a little bit of colour to the right in the sky. But just think about that composition wise when you do it, because you want to maximize how the image is going to look. The other thing, because the color's over here on the right hand side, the other thing I might do with this one is actually get a pano happening. Maybe something like this. Oh, didn't want to change the angle. There we go. Maybe something like this. There we go. Okay, and to me, that's more appealing. I haven't lost anything that was of significant interest, and now I've got a really nice panoramic image. Now, with something like the D810, you can get away with that all day long. And then what I would do is I would probably add some what I call gradient source, which is basically a vignette on the top and the bottom, as you can see. This is just adding it on the top. I would add one on the bottom as well. Bring this one up. Come on. It's doing that because there we go. So I put that one there. There we go. It's doing that because I've cropped the image. And that would be my... that would be what I would do. I still think it's a little bit cool, so I might warm it up just that tad more. Really what I want to do is I want to try and get the colours right. Tad more. And then you might just want to give it a bit more contrast. Okay, and I've got a couple of things over here. You can see it's called Clear the Air and Secret Source in my presets. And it's not that secret. They're just changes to the tone curve that I've got preset in there. So Clear the Air. sort of makes those changes. And Secret Source makes those changes. I don't know why it's not showing up over there. These presets were brought in from the previous Lightroom, so it's funny it's not showing up over here. I don't know what's going on with this new Lightroom Classic, but anyway. And that would just give it a bit more depth. And I'll just show you the before and after. So that was before, and that's after. To me, the second image is just much more appealing. I would do one more thing. Can anybody guess what else I would do to this image? See how well you know me. I would add a little bit of... What's my brush setting? I want a new brush. Okay. I would add a little bit of clarity like that. There we go. Just along the jetty, just to really make it stand out. And I'd probably do it a little bit more careful than that. A little bit there overall globally. And we should have a nice jetty. And once again, before and after. So that was before and that's after. So definitely the colours were really, really cold. Yeah, it's good to see that John said clarity. Anthony said clarity. But I'm pretty happy with that. That's sort of what I would do. But once again, all these things are a individual thing. Technically, the main things I would have said technically that needed to be taken care of was the dust spots or whatever it is that's on the sensor. I don't think they're dust. It looks like it's something else because it's almost translucent. Whatever's on the sensor, and that tells me that it's might be oil out of something inside the camera, which it could be. I've heard that happening before, and you just have to watch for that sort of thing happening. So there you go. Thanks very much, Lee, for sending that in. I think we'll jump straight into the next one because we're going to run out of time, having started the show a little bit later, half an hour later than I normally would. I'm sure you can all hang around if you need to. All right. So let's jump into the next one. Now, the next image that I've got is from Dan McPhail. And Dan has sent this shot in. And it's a really well-timed shot of the sun setting. Or rising, okay, the sun rising behind the jetty. Really well timed shot of the sun rising behind the jetty, and I think it looks really good. I love the way the light comes through here under the jetty. You know, if I zoom in a bit, let's go to 1:1. Oh, it's a smaller file than I thought. Hey, come back. Let's go to 3:1. There we go. So you can see there how the sun is just reflecting through the jetty there in a line, like a straight line from the sun. I think that works really well. But overall, a nice image. To me, and this is probably because I've got a bit of a HDR tendency, I just would like to see a little bit more detail in the jetty. Not much, but a little bit. I'll come to that in a second. Let's just look at the technical stats of this photo. So it's shot with a Sony SLT A77V. Not sure what that is. Somebody might be able to help me. Maybe it's a point and shoot. I'm going to say it's possible. It was shot at 150mm f5.6, 1/500th of a second at ISO 160. It's quite an impressive file. It looks quite good. And if so that's sort of the technical data. And I'm not sure what that camera is. I don't know if is that just an A77, is it? Must be. SLT A77V. Must be. Okay. So still, it's a DSLR, is it? Must be. All right. So let's jump into the only thing I would say, technically, if you can get a lower ISO, I would have done that. You didn't need the ISO to be 160 to take this shot. and 5.6, I probably wouldn't have done that either. Now, I'm going to guess it's handheld. Maybe that's why he's pumped the ISO up and the shutters, because he's got a 1/500th of a second shutter speed. But 150mm, you only need 1/150th of a second, 1/200th of a second to be safe, and you'll still get the shot. With zoom lenses, it can be a bit harder. Like I said, he shot this at 150mm with a 70-210 f4 lens. So that's what I would do. If we jump into the develop module, and let's just have a look at some of the things that I think could have been done better. I really like the cropping in this. So if I put the crop over it, you can see that the intersection is not on the sun, but it's not far from it, down here in the bottom right hand corner. And you know, I always like to try and use that as a bit of a guide. And if you were to bring it in just that little bit, you'd probably find it would work just a tad better. And it's hard to say, because I don't like that pole being cut off like that. So they're the sort of things that you just got to think through as you do this. I really like the way it works. I might just bring that in slightly to try and put the sun more on that intersection, and it just works out a little bit better for me. The other thing, as I said, the shadows, I would probably just increase them just a tad if I could get away with it. Not by much, just enough to bring a bit more detail out, because there's a bit of detail missing. And this is one of those ones where you could sort of sit here and play all day to get it right, because of the type of shot it is. I'm just going to bring that exposure down just a tad. No, you know what? I'm going to bring the highlights down, and then I'm going to bring the shadows up a bit, and then I'm going to bring the exposure up. Then we need a little bit of contrast back in it. Let's try this and this. Oh, don't like that. So a bit of whites and blacks. Once again, before and after. So that was before and this is after. So to me, just a little bit more detail in the shadows really brings it up for me. I really like it. But once again, it's an individual thing. If you want the silhouette thing, I'm not a big fan of complete silhouette. That's before, that's after. Before and after. What I did do is I reduced the highlights down, probably just a tad too much. So I'll bring those back up. There we go. Before and after. Okay, so you can see before, big hot spot here in the sun, and everything else was quite dark. And if you look at my after shot, you can see that it's a lot more balanced, and I really like to make it a bit more balanced. The other thing, he's also got a bit of a vignette going on here as well that we could probably reduce, because it's sort of making the top of the sky look a bit dirty, and that's one of the risks when you when you're using vignetting as an effect, is that it can look a bit dirty and it can be a bit hard to remove. You can see that it's not going to be easy to remove. I'm going to actually wreck the bottom corner by using that particular slider. So that's something that I would have to do with a brush or with a... he could have had a filter on, I don't know. But if you're going to use you could use a graduated filter to fix it. Just bring them in from the corner like that. I'm just going to get rid of that noise reduction and just bring the exposure up slightly in the corners. And you'll see that what I've done, if you have a look, let me get rid of the overlay there. If you look at the right corner as opposed to the left corner, it's just fix it up a little bit. So I'll bring another one in from this side as well, and we'll do the same thing. We'll just increase the exposure just enough to get rid of that weird sort of dirty look in the corner. And let's just drag that one in a bit further. There we go. And that's just a good trick if you do have any vignetting happening, because it will happen to you, right? Especially if you mount things on your computer. And once again, I'll just show you before and after. Okay, and it's just bringing that image into a little bit more of a natural sort of a look. So for me, that's probably what I do. The other thing you can do if you don't like the vignetting is you can actually sort of just crop down a little bit. And, you know, because that everything's sort of falling on that intersection, we'll get rid of the vignetting, and we've probably got a better photo yet again just by cropping it down into a sort of pano. And, you know, but great image, really good image. I love things like, you know, even the seagull here. It'd be nice if he was up higher, but he can't control where the birds are. Yeah, and I'm really quite amazed because this was shot at f5.6, and the depth of field is good. So because it's shot at 150mm, I'm going to assume that you know, you're a fair way back from this you know, when you were shooting it. So, you know, you probably, you know, shooting at that low and average, like I said, technically I would have shot it at probably f9 or f11. You still would have got a fast enough shutter speed, and you wouldn't have, you know, you should have still got a fast enough shutter speed to get away with it. But there you go. Here's the before and here's the after. So just a few tweaks, a little bit of cropping, and you know, we've got an image that just has that little bit more punch. I quite like it. Looks quite good. I like the fact, you know, you haven't gone with a longer shutter speed. It looks pretty good. Yeah. All right, I'm just going to check the chat box quickly. Let me have a look. Haven't checked that for a little while. See who's chatting away in the chat box. Who's in there chatting away? All right. Slight banding with the sun. Would this happen in 14-bit? The JPEG doesn't help, and you're then seeing it 720p streamed. So who knows what you're seeing? A little less sky, perhaps. Yep. Which I did that. Tried that. So let's see, you're all on the same sort of thinking path. John says a vignette at 5.6 is surprising. Yeah, but it might have been a filter holder. He could have put it in post-production. I don't know. I haven't got all the details. But you know, otherwise a pretty good shot. It is a bit noisy when you zoom in, so you know, you just got to watch that kind of stuff. Yeah, so there we go. Go backwards up a little bit. Sounds and images. G'day. Thanks for joining us. Your first Pixel Chatter, eh? Live. There you go. From cold southeast England. I heard I'm actually. I got a lot of relatives there. My cousin said it was snowing in London yesterday, of all things. Must be cold there. Must be cold. Philip says, love the shot. Shorncliffe Jetty is popular. Is that what it is? Shorncliffe Jetty, is it? Okay. I don't think I had the details on that. Let me jump back to the library and see. What did I have on it? Yeah, I didn't have any of the details. Not everyone sends me in the details, but there you go. Alrighty, well, one more shot to jump into, and this one is, let me get this up for you, this is a first timer, in fact, from Christian Taylor. So first time we've had one of Christian Taylor. And this is a Vegetti. Trying to work out where it is. Don't know. But he has used a Lee Big Stopper on this. I do know that for a fact because he's put that in his notes. And you know, I think he's gone for a bluish look. I'm not really sure because he's put that in his notes as well. So I'm just trying to decipher what the notes all mean. I didn't have as much time to go through and read them. And then, of course, with all the technical problems. But it's a nice image, isn't it? Like, he's really got this working nicely. From a technical issue, let's just look at the technical aspects. So it's been shot on a Nikon D7200. It is at ISO 100, which is the base ISO, which I say you should always go to your base ISO when you're shooting out and about. Because you'll get the least amount of noise. So the lowest ISO you can go. So you got to remember that mantra. The lowest ISO I can go. And then let's have a look. What else has he got there? F9. And this exposure is 512 seconds. So for the mathematicians out there, 60 seconds in a minute. That's almost 10 minutes, is it? 500 seconds would be, wouldn't it? Yeah. So eight sixes of. I've never been good at maths. Who can work that out? What's 512 seconds in minutes? That's a long exposure. Let me see if I can bring that up. Clear that. 512 divided by 60 equals 8.5 minutes. Is it? Nearly 9 minutes. So really gone to town with the Lee Big Stopper, which is cool. Where would I start with this? So technically, F9, being that you've just gone for long exposure, I probably would have gone F11 or something like that. Let's just look at the focus throughout the shot. And this is just something for you to note when you're taking these shots. Oh, might have to jump back out of there. Is you want to make sure that you have a focus all the way through. So it's a little bit blurry here at the beginning of the shot. As I go through the shot, definitely sharper up there. And then up here, it's a bit blurry as well. And that's a result of the depth of field. So don't be afraid, if you're going to do a long exposure, to pump it up a little bit. And that way you're going to make sure that, that way you're going to make sure that you get it sharp all the way through the entire image. The other thing you can do, if you have to shoot at f9, is take a shot where you focus in the first part of the image, and then another shot where you focus on the last part of the image, and then you can sort of blend it all together. And you can move your focus point through. If you've got the new Nikon D850, it has focus stacking built in, which is kind of cool. I'm keen to try that out at some stage. I'm waiting for the the prices to come down. I think that if that'll ever happen. The other thing, if you shot at a higher aperture, like at f11 or something, you get a bit more of a starburst of these lights, if that's what you wanted. And that could have looked quite good. But you got a little bit of starburst happening. The only other challenge was shooting at long shutter speeds with people in it. You've got these people moving around a lot. And unfortunately, normally if you're shooting people, one of the ways to get rid of them is a really long exposure. When you're shooting somebody like a fisherman or somebody waiting for a bus or something, they're not moving, they're going to show up in your shot like ghosts. I would probably have taken the time to clone all of this stuff out. It would have been time consuming, but it would have just made it a little bit nicer to go through, especially things like this guy here. If I just zoom right into, let's go 8:1. Or even these fishing rods, really easy to remove those sort of things with a little bit of effort, and that'll just make a bit of a difference. One of the benefits of doing such a long exposure, the water's really smooth. You've got nice reflections in the water. Technically, one of the challenges you're going to find is every sensor will do this. You'll get these little hot spots, and you'll see some of them like this here. I don't know how well you can see that, but these hot spots, they're just hot pixels in your camera. I mean, they could be things on the jetty, but I doubt it. I mean, that one there, if I jump straight in, I'll just zoom in on that one so you can see, because that one's a really obvious one. And I'll show you. Let me just flip into that. There we go. So you'll see that there is a really obvious hot spot, and it's just a hot pixel. And they're easy to remove. You just remove them with the develop tool. You jump in here, spot removal. Super easy to remove. So there's no need to even tolerate them, gone. Just so simple. And so I always say to people, if you're going to, you've got to be really careful. Make sure that you get rid of these things. Let me try and center this back up. Because it'll just make your shots a little bit better if you can spend that little bit of time removing those sort of things, and you'll be that much better off. But you can see it's easy there to spot those things when you zoom right in. But even at 1:1, I can see them everywhere. I don't know if you can see these pixels here. There's about 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know if you can see. Let me zoom. I'll zoom into. I'll go 3:1. But can you see those hot pixels? And for some reason, I see so many photographers don't see them. In fact, that's a bad one there. Look, there's a red one, there's a green one. And typically they are coloured because it's RGB, right? So you're seeing your sensor do funny things. So you can see that's a red one there. And if I come across here, that's a green one. Oh, what is my... there's a red one. Look, that's a magenta one there. That looks like it's green, red. So I'm sure you can see all of these, right? And they're really simple to remove. You just get your spot removal tool, give it a bit of that. There's a red one, there's a magenta one. They're everywhere. And whenever you shoot at, above a minute, I would say even above 30 seconds, you've got to look for these things. And by doing that, you'll get rid of them. Personally, in this shot, all the lights here are, by the way, are all blown out. I can see that. And if you click on the histogram on the right-hand side in Lightroom, let me zoom in just so you can see that, so you can see how that works. It's a really cool feature. I probably zoomed in too much there. Get 4:1. It's a really cool feature. You just click this, or even, and it stays on. I always keep mine on because that way I can monitor. Because as you change things in your image, you'll see that these, as you change things, these will change. So if you're making changes to your image, let's say you're changing things, even highlights, see how it can change. So to me, I would use that as an indication. I would bring the highlights back till that's not blown right out like that. If we go back out now and just go to fit, that should have fixed all those lights. It'll just make them look that little bit better. If I give you a before and after, you see the lights. The highlights been brought back in the entire image. In fact, you could probably bring the highlights back even further in this image because of the nature of it. Bring the shadows up just a little bit. Let's start working on this image. I'm finding the bottom left-hand corner distracting with these shadows, and that's not adding anything. There's a lot of water there. I'm going to crop it out into a pano, and I'm a pano fiend, I know, but it'll work better to me. Have a look at that. Looks beautiful. Let's add some contrast. I reckon overall clarity is going to work nice on this image. If you see, we'll just bring the definition out in the water and the sky. I'm going to bring the contrast up a little bit. I'm going to warm it up a bit. Your big stopper will always cool things down. So, not always, typically, because if you've got auto white balance on, you're going to find it's going to get confused. These things that are on the horizon, I'm going to remove as well. I don't like these little distractions. They don't add into the image, then I just get rid of them. And of course, there's just hot pixels everywhere. So, this would take me a long time to get rid of all the hot pixels. So I'm not going to try and do that. But certainly you want to try and just clean up any of this sort of stuff. I must have my settings are out. Too much feathering. There we go. Change the feather on this as well. Obviously from something I was doing before, I had it feathered right out to make it soft. Come on, grab the other one. I'll just get rid of that. I'll get rid of that and I'll start again. Okay, this way it'll work better this time. There we go. Done. So you just, get rid of anything like that that's distracting, and you'll find you'll just get a better picture overall. It'll just be more appealing to the light. So if I give you the before and the after, you can see all I've done, I've reduced the highlights, increased the contrast, increased the warmth a little bit, increased clarity overall, and it's given me something that looks really nice. You can see, but from otherwise a beautiful shot, really nice location, and I just think it works really, really well. And you can do all sorts of things if you want to, and I love things like these gradient filters in Lightroom. If you wanted to do something, just make the sky a bit warmer, you can do that too. You could bring that, cause it's got a bit of green in there or something. Trying to get the colour right in that sky. So it's a very green sky, I don't know why. Let's see if we can just fix it up a bit. Or you can always, one of the things I quite often do with skies is just desaturate them a bit. And I'll show you what that looks like in a second. Let me drag this bit down, the center point of this up. There we go. And then increase the blacks a bit, like so. And we'll get the clarity up a bit on the sky. And then a bit of dehaze. Not too much. All right, I'll show you what that's done. So look at the before and after. So instead of a blue sky now, you've got a bit of grey in the clouds and a bit more definition. So you can really have a bit of fun with just changing things around a little bit. But entirely up to you. They're just some ideas. But I think technically for you, Christian, thanks for sending this, by the way, Christian, because this is your first one. Technically, I would say the main thing is just be careful when you're shooting of those hot pixels, and also when you're shooting something long, that you are going to be likely to have a problem with the depth of field if you're not careful. So just be careful. But otherwise, I think it's a great image, and if you liked it, then that's fine. As I always say when I do these critiques, it's not about not everything I suggest is going to be spot on, but that you like, but a lot of it will be. I think most of it is things like those hot pixels, though. I mean, I can, even at this zoomed out, I can see these hot pixels up here. They're just everywhere. So I don't know how you missed those. Maybe you were tired when you do it, and that's why I always say to people when you edit an image, go back and check it out. After the fact, because quite often you'll find that what you've missed during your editing is you've missed those little things. And you can see even here, I'd have to do a bit of work because there's a bit of dark haloing happening underneath the bridge, or those little arches and things like that can sometimes be a bit of an issue. All right, let's flick back over to the camera. Hello, everybody. And we'll just check on the chat box and see what's going on. Hopefully you enjoyed that. 3 great images, though. Fantastic. Good to see those jetties coming in. Anybody who shoots jetties is a friend of mine. So Lee Quimby, Dan McPhail, and Christian Taylor, thank you for sending those in. And, of course, Chance Sealer for sending in his shot kit. So if you do have your own shot kit that you can send in, that looks something like this one. This one was sent in by Chance, and that was of his shot kit. If you do have your own shot kit, take a shot of all your gear in whatever way you like. Get as creative as you can and send it in, and we'll pop it on the show and show everybody what it is, what's in your bag, and share, what everyone's shooting with. Because it's always interesting to see what other people are shooting with. All right, I'm going to jump into the chat box quickly before we go. See what's been going on over here. Greg says 5-12 seconds can make a coffee and drink it. Absolutely. Dennis said 8.33, worked it out exactly for me. Thank you. Nicely composed, says John. Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Neat shot, says Dennis. Yeah, it was good. Moreton Bay, Brisbane, says Philip. So many angles to choose from. Excellent. Excellent. I don't know how far back in the chat I've gone here, but yep. He would have been there for a year. I've removed lots of people from a shot I submitted that was Yeah, John's removed people before. Go for it. Feel free to do it. Your images. Do whatever you like. Let's see what else we got there. Hot pixels will also be avoided with a series of shots blended. Absolutely, but if you do a series of shots blended, you don't get the true long exposure look. So if you want to get the movement in the clouds or the water, then, because this could have been quite a lot of movement in the water, who knows? And he wanted to remove it. So depends on what you want to shoot. Nice changes. Actually prefer the original crop, says John. Yeah, that's okay. Everyone to themselves. I'm a bit of a pano fiend. So I like jetties and I like panos and HDR. So you're going to see that in anything that I critique. That's the sort of where I'm going to be biased towards. And that's just who I am. Sounds and images. Time for bed. Knackered. Yeah, good night. Thank you for tuning in and watching. Jetty from Maine for me. Yeah, send it through, John. Send me through your jetty, buddy. Rick says you won't get to Busso Jetty this weekend. The Ironman event there. It'd be busy, would it? 11 o'clock in Liverpool time for one last drink in bed, says John. Well, that's pretty much it for this week's Pixel Chatter. Once again, if you've got an image for the image critique section, head to the description below this video. Hopefully it's there because of the technical issues I had. Shoot your images through to Ben at On3Legs. That's with the word 3, on3legs.com. 3 images. Try and make them at least 3,000 pixels on the longest edge, but not huge files. Don't send me raw files because just the email system struggles with it. And then what I can do is I'll, hopefully get your shot up on the show. Make sure you include the EXIF information, which is the details about how the shot was taken, so the shutter speed, ISO, etc., and a little bit of a description about how you took the shot, so I can understand a bit about where you were and what you were trying to achieve. So if you wanted to go for the cold blue look, tell me that that's what you're after. Because it might be your creative, your artistry coming through. That was a hard word to say. So yeah, feel free to send those through. Ben at on3legs.com. Quick reminder of a couple of things. This is the second last Pixel Chatter for the year. So next week will be the final Pixel Chatter for 2017 because then I'm away with the boss on holidays and then we've got the Christmas break. And my plan is to bring Pixel Chatter back with a slightly new format in the new year. I'm going to try and get some photographer interviews coming onto the show as well, just to talk to some other photographers about what they're doing. And I'll probably start with the VIP group. So if any of the VIPs are keen to do a 3 minutes, I want to do 3 minutes with a photographer. And I think that'll just be really interesting. And I'll have a set of questions. and we'll go through and we'll just have a quick chat, and I'll record that and play it back on the live show. So that'll be a bit of fun. So if you're up for that, let me know. If you do want to become a VIP, a very important photographer, go to patreon.com/on3legs. Once again, all should be in the links down below. Yeah, that's pretty much it. If you're not going to get the terrible weather we're going to have in Sydney today, you should be out taking some photos. That's for sure. Alrighty, Greg says, thanks, good to see you live again. Take care. Yep, thank you, sounds and images. When's next Pixel Chatter? It's next Saturday, John, 1 week from today. Once again, I'll do it at 8:30 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. We were just half an hour late today because of the challenges, but as you can see, I fixed up the streaming. I had to redo the streaming key in the new software. It told me I didn't have to, but I had to get it to work. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks again for those of you that sent the images in. Until next time, get out there and take some photos. That's what you should be doing. Cheerio.